Do we have to do it?
I don't know if I want to, but
I mean, I don't want to either, but I feel like if we don't do it, like it's just so expected. I don't want to do it because it's expected, but I feel like if we don't do it, we're going to get emails. So I figure we may as well just do it and then be done with it.
do it quick.
All right, here we go.
All right, that'll do.
Yeah, that's enough. I don't do the whole thing. That'll get stuck in my head for a week. That's enough. I even found like the international version where they're singing it in Russian, and I'm like, oh god, look out.
Oh, that could be fun. Get Into Gate. This is episode 166. We are talking Stargate SG-1. The Get Into Gate team is here. My name is Mitch. Joining me, as always, Matty Gibson.
Hello.
And Brendan Gibson.
G'day, mate.
Week number 459 in isolation. We are separated by distance but brought together by the wonderful people at Zoom. If they want to sponsor the show, they are keeping us going at the moment. We are back in the Milky Way galaxy this week, talking Season 8, Episode 8 of SG-1, Covenant. Now, obviously, for those in the know, or those that have seen the show, this particular episode, we did have to play the nanny because obviously Mr. Sheffield does guest star in this episode. Basically, as Richard Branson, I want to say, based on that jacket that he was wearing. So we'll get into the old synopsis, have a read of what it says, and then we'll get into the episode and see what we thought. When a billionaire industrialist threatens to reveal the existence of alien life at a press conference, SG-1 is charged with the job of keeping him quiet. Carter, who has worked with him in the past, tries to explain that the information will cause panic, but ultimately she must decide how far she is willing to go to stop this threat to national security. Story by Ron Wilkinson, directed by Martin Wood, script and written by Cooper. So I teased it just before the synopsis that when he come out, he's, Mr. Sheffield comes out and he's just walking along. He's so casual and so cool. You get this idea that he's this rich businessman and all that. He fronts the media and he's just so, got a lot of charisma about him. And yeah, to me, and the fact that he's running like an aviation place and he's got his hands in a lot of other different technology type pockets out there. And I'm like, was this like an early rip-off of, a young Richard Branson? Like he's in his 60s by now, so go back nearly 20 years. We're probably talking early Branson of when he really started making his mark. I don't know. And he's British as well, so...
Well, was he? Like, what was that accent? Like, that wasn't the Mr. Sheffield accent. So it's like, what
Yeah, it was.
Was that him trying to do an American accent and failing miserably?
No, I didn't hear any different. I'm with Brendan.
Really?
Yeah.
No, Mr. Sheffield was much more... much more posh with his accent.
Or maybe that's what Charles... Was it Shaughnessy?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, but what about on Days of Our Drearies? He was like that too, wasn't he?
Oh, was he on that, was he?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I'd ever really pick up that he sounds different in anything I've ever seen him in, but I reckon maybe the Sheffield thing, while it would be a long time to keep it up, maybe he was really emphasising that posh nature of an Englishman. But maybe that was
doing his best Madonna.
Yeah.
That weird hybrid accent.
Then again, I guess when you're opposite Fran Drescher, who was emphasising who she was as the nanny, they're going to sound really different. Like he's going to sound way more British up against
True that.
The twang of Fran Drescher.
Did anyone watch the Zoom chat that they did, where they read like the pilot script or something?
Oh, that's right. No, I definitely didn't. But
except the little kid's bald now, like the little like the son.
Yeah,
he's like a 40-year-old, like completely bald-headed dude now. He has not aged well.
Scott from Austin Powers.
Yeah, I watched the hell out of that show back when it was on. Like peak nanny, early to mid 90s and all that. What a show for the family.
Favorite show.
Yeah. I think we all loved it as a family. I think my father hated it from memory.
Tolerated it.
Yeah. Barely tolerated. I want to even say that it did a lot of 7 o'clock viewings, and he doesn't get home until like 7:25 on average. So he would always walk in at the end, and it was just like,
deliberately hanging around work a little bit later than usual.
Dad, you miss Niles' zingers, man.
Dad, you're so Niles. It's such a Niles thing to say.
Did you hear the little sort of shout out cameo when Carter takes him to the Alpha site? and introduces him to Captain Sheffield, like the guy that's in charge of the Alpha site.
Oh, I completely blanked on that. I was actually looking at the actor, wondering whether I remembered him from another smaller role within Stargate. He looked familiar but we never really got like a front-on shot of him, so I didn't know whether I was just piecing something together from the side of his face. But I can't believe I slept on the Sheffield reference.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It feels like a Peter DeLuise thing, but it must have been a Cooper thing. So
I'd say Martin Wood thing.
Yeah.
On the day.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It could have been on the day, yeah.
So it feels strange when you watch an episode like this to me that I know we've tinkered with ideas of the public finding out, but it's been more about the idea of a cover-up and from, I guess, our point of view, if we're thinking of ourselves as the SGC, rather than focusing so much on a guy who has no ill intent. Like, anytime that someone wants to make it public, while the NID don't want to do this, or Kinsey doesn't want to do this, they are more a Kinsey and an NID type where they've got ulterior motives, whereas this guy he was all about the truth. And while you might have expected after 40 minutes of an episode you find out what his real true motives were, we never really found that out. Like, it was just seemed to be, no, he just wanted to tell the truth and all that. So we have, I guess, played with this idea of, okay, well, this is going to go public one day. What happens if it does? Where do we feel about that at this stage of the show? But I guess by now, when we're nearly midway through season 8, it is time to really start looking into that idea of all the shit that's happened. And like they said, 5 months ago, there was this gigantic battle over Antarctica. Like, we've had some shit go on in orbit, but to go on over Antarctica within our atmosphere, we've got to start having these conversations about how can we keep this shit secret for so long. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, but then I guess to have it birth then the idea of, if you watch these episodes in the right order, birth the idea of the trust and who the new NID are and all that sort of thing. So it does, I guess, set a little bit more of a future path for the show, but also ask some questions a little bit deeper than what we have already about what it means when the Stargate program finally becomes public knowledge.
It felt a little bit all over the place for me. Like, there was just so much crammed into this, but it all happens off screen. Like, all the exciting, interesting stuff happens off screen. It's like, oh, while, Mr. Sheffield was, over on the Alpha site, stuff was happening back there. Off screen, it's like, oh, old mate's, offed himself at the end, he's hung himself. All the trust stuff happens off screen. We're always just catching up and hearing about stuff, which I found sort of really weird. And even they even referenced probably the worst one that Stargate's done is they reminded us, even though we all consider Lost City a massive victory, they're like, oh yeah, remember how there was that aircraft carrier that was taken down and 2,000 people died on that and no one really did anything about it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. Thousands of people died in Lost City and we didn't really acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because again, that all happened off screen when they just kind of got that, it sort of came over the phone.
Yeah.
In the president's office.
Yeah, we definitely spoke about that and how weird it seemed that the way, I guess, that was referenced and then never really referenced again. So yeah, it's interesting for it to be brought up back now, and I guess that added a little bit of depth at that stage. Like, when they said the number before they told you the accident in which it happened, it was like, oh shit, yeah, it's not just the people that we know. It's not just SG-1 and 11 and 7. That it's affecting people outside of the SGC already. So it kind of makes sense. And even though Carter was more about telling just this guy Coulson throughout the episode, like, what happens if we do? I guess it made me think a little bit more about, okay, yeah, this stage of the show, what happens if the public do find out, based on how this one guy is reacting to it and why he wants the public to find out.
And it seemed really weird the way the episode was structured. Like, that whole cold open seemed pointless to me. Like, why would he give the government 24 hours? Why would you not just... Wouldn't a cold open be better if the cold open was him wheeling out an Asgard? Like that scene where he just wheels out the Asgard clone and the media are taking photos.
I'm going to give you 24 hours to kill me.
Yeah, like, I feel like that was there so that Carter and Jackson could go and have a chat with him first. Like, I just felt it was just like buffering and just like putting unnecessary runtime into the episode. Imagine if, the first time, Carter and Daniel, when they're watching the press conference on TV, they see him wheel out the Asgard straight away, and that's the cold open. I feel like that would have been more interesting, but they sort of had to pad it out to give, the trust time to get involved, and I don't really understand or am interested in what the Trust was doing. Like, by the time you get to the end of the episode and there's that big exposition scene about, oh, they got to him 6 months ago and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I don't care. I so don't care about it. It just seemed a long way to go.
Yeah. It was a lot of information to shove in here, why as a personal thing that he would have been involved. And I actually had to rewind it a couple of times because I just found myself drifting.
Yeah, I do put subtitles on to really kind of try and absorb it.
I think the main one I put subtitles on was for Coulson, the way he managed to get the DNA sample from the government, the biotech research company contract. Like, okay.
Yeah,
he just
like,
spat it out.
Yeah, the Department of Defense was trying to help the Asgard with their cloning technology or whatever, so it's like they've outsourced and they've just given Asgard DNA to
we just gave them a sample,
company.
but they weren't meant to do too much with it. What did you think they were going to do?
You give them non-human DNA, what do you think they're going to do with it?
Yeah. They'd figure that out immediately too, right? Oh, this isn't...
Surely. I mean, we're no biochemists or anything like that, but yeah. So, but what I love the most is when he does reveal the Asgard and he throws to the door and the guy opens the door, there's for no reason that just random plain looking woman that walks out first before the Asgard. Yeah. I kind of wanted the crowd to gasp at her and go, oh my God, start taking photos. And she's like, oh no, not me. Oh.
Marilyn Monroe is an alien and she's still alive.
But yeah, I'm like, why would you have her walk out first? The Asgard walked out with a handler. What was her role?
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, no, I found that super strange, especially because I haven't seen this episode in a long time, as I say about every episode. And I genuinely forgot what they were about to bring out. So the fact that it was this Asgard, but yeah, you get this random woman, faceless woman, come out first. It's like, that just seems like a weird. And again, like you said, Matty, you needed a reaction to make that seem worthwhile. So, but I guess once the Asgard came out for me, I was like, holy shit, what was the Asgard doing? Was he on that ship? Something to do with Antarctica? I was really wondering about who this was and why they were here and what this means afterwards. And I mean, they clear it up pretty quickly, but just for that next 5 minutes, I did enjoy though when Carter immediately after that, and she's like, "Oh, we've called Thor," and he said it's not one of their Asgard. He has no, and I'm like, "Oh, you sure?" He answers this phone call. He, there's big intergalactic shit going on for months, and he just doesn't answer. I know he's been stuck in different galaxies and time vortexes and shit, but sometimes the Asgard give them nothing. This is hey, we've got this going on, and immediately it's bang, we can move on with the episode because it's not a real Asgard. We need to find out what it is within 3 minutes of screen time. But then obviously he came to play a bigger part in it anyway, so that was
what I
cool.
want to see is the part of the episode that we didn't see that happened off screen where Carter and Daniel must have just had the best time. They get flown from Colorado Springs to Seattle to Coulson's head office, where they drove there in a convertible red Mustang.
Yes.
I'm like, excuse me? Did the US tax dollars pay for you guys to rent that to tour around Seattle in? You just, oh yeah, we'll take that hotted up convertible muscle car. And I'm like, Carter's in her civilian clothes. You'd think she would have rocked up, if she's representing the US government, you think she would have rocked up, she would have legally had to rock up, in her uniform or whatever. She's just rocked up in her civvies, because they were hitting the clubs afterwards in the convertible.
I hadn't been asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably their clothes from the night before.
Yeah. That moment, it was. I mean, obviously, it's cool to see our characters do everything, but for me, it's with these sort of shows where you are so focused on just a handful of characters. The best and worst part about them is that they do everything. In what world, in any real sense of any military, would it be SG, or not even military, but government or otherwise, would it be SG-1's role to go and speak with the guy that said he would go on air and reveal secrets about international security? It comes down to Carter and Daniel going to speak with him. And I know, again,
that's why I feel with all Earthbound eps. That's why I think they're kind of irrelevant.
Where's Major Davis? This would have been ideal for Major Davis.
Yeah, that's him. And then doesn't she bring up the other bloke, Barrett? She brings up Barrett saying, "Oh, we're working with him." I'm like, this should have been a Davis and a Barrett thing. And then maybe if they struggle, they go, "Oh, Sam, you've had previous dealings with this guy. Can we bring you in?" And maybe that's why she dresses more like a civilian. If she comes in dressed in military garb, like they probably did, it's a bit of a brick wall. Whereas she comes again. Maybe that's where they just lose a little bit of screen time. They don't have the minutes to eat up.
My only internal logic for her being in civilian clothes was, Coulson gives his 24-hour ultimatum to the government. Surely there's like media like hanging out the front of his office space. So she's wearing civilian clothes, so it doesn't look like the government's rocking up the next day to be like. I'd
have liked Carter to introduce Daniel, and this is a nice-looking young man.
I made a note of that. I actually liked that little bit of continuity that. What was her name? The reporter, Julia Donovan,
Blondie.
Yeah, like that's the chick from the Prometheus when the Prometheus was stolen. So she doesn't know Daniel. She's never dealt with Jonas. So I love the fact that she didn't know who. She's like, oh, my source says, oh, there was some handsome guy.
Nice looking young man is what she said. Young, he's older than you, love.
Yeah, and then also like the other
who's the woman who gave her that advice? Oh my God, he's a nice looking young man.
And then the other bit that I don't think I've ever picked up before, but I loved it, was while Sam's on the phone with Julia Donovan getting into the convertible, then Daniel says, "Oh, he's got 13 missed messages from Emmett Bregman." Who's the reporter from Heroes? The guy,
the doco maker.
Yeah, the documentary
cool
guy. Yeah, I never noticed that before. Just because Daniel talks so quick, sometimes you don't always catch everything.
And then also, like, I feel sorry for people who might have missed Heroes or haven't been able to rewatch Heroes, because that was a long time ago. If you're watching it on TV, I just got 13 messages from Emmett Bregman, and then she's like, "I'm real." It's like, who's the cutaway?
Especially when, like, she's on the phone to the reporter and she takes and, like, I know you just said, Maddie, that Daniel wasn't in that episode, but they still took the time to go, oh, it's the reporter from the Prometheus episode.
Yeah.
Right. And also, then, my favourite bit, that's what I've written, my first note was the exposition news story. Like, it comes back from the credits and it was like, if you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, which I figure is a real script way of writing the notes, which was, if you're not sure why you've never heard of this character who we're going to tell you is extremely important before after 8.5 seasons, this is who he is and why. Because as soon as they tell you exactly who he is, O'Neill walks in and goes, switch that off. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Us audience already know everything we need to know to make this episode just flow on.
Carter's like, oh yeah, he helped us build the F-302. He just doesn't know. Like,
I like the other exposition where it's like Coulson's his plane went down emergency landing, and then she's like, get me something on his wife and kids. And then she turns to Carter and says, they died in a plane crash years ago. That's why he started Coulson Airspace. Oh, thanks for that.
You're right. She was just there she was exposition character.
That was the worst I've ever heard in my life. Not just saying that because that's a Cooperism, but that was terrible dialogue.
But he's like, if he is Richard Branson, like, everyone would know that. Like, that would be common knowledge. Because
he was a virgin for 50 years in the other company.
He even says himself later on, he's like, oh, when you have my level of celebrity, nothing's secret.
Yeah, there's that. I wonder whether it would have been better if it's like, get me something on his wife and kids. And then that's just like, okay, that's a reporter doing their job or whatever. But then later on, he's like, you know about my wife and kids, don't you? And then maybe he goes in, even she goes, yes. He goes, well, after the crash. And then you, as an audience member, can put it together maybe. Like, yeah, it was just...
Even if you said after they died...
Yeah, you're right. Like, there's just and then you think back and go, oh shit, that's why she was going after the stuff. And wow, okay, you're really putting it together now. But yeah, it was just so force-fed.
He could have had PTSD when, like, they were recovering from their plane accident that went down. Like, was he on the plane with his wife and daughter when they were killed? Yeah. Was he not? Were they on a separate plane? Like, and we never see this character again. He's even at the end, like, right, the last...
Never see him again.
Well, yeah, because right at the end, they're like, oh, P.S., he's going to go live on another planet. Bye.
Yeah.
End credits.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I remembered where it was going, that we were going to see him leave, even just go through the event horizon. I thought, oh, okay, well, we're going to see that. And then it just went to black in the lounge room.
I'm wondering if this was maybe like and that gave them the inspiration to do It's Good to Be King. I'm wondering if... maybe this sort of piqued someone's interest and because I think Peter DeLuise writes It's Good to Be King.
Yeah, he does.
So yeah, I'm wondering if, without giving any spoilers, I'm wondering if maybe the throwaway lines in this episode inspired Peter DeLuise to actually write it done correctly.
Yeah, I think I remember that episode. I mean, what it's about. I mean, so it was another one of those moments during this rewatch while we are outside of the podcast and part of the wider Stargate fandom community that we are campaigning to have more Stargate made and to bring it back and all that. That this is another potential thread or character that could see a return. I mean, Charles Shaughnessy's still acting. Like, it would be kind of cool to be able to go to the Alpha site or a Beta site and he's a guy that's not taken on like a weird type role, but like some kind of advisor in like
Brennan's
a technological sense. But to see that kind of follow-up that he's still living, maybe you do bring him back to Earth. I mean, then you have to explore, people still chase him because one, he committed crimes that he didn't, but people think that he did, and that he's been disappeared for 20 years. So that would probably be too much to focus on in an episode about a show called Stargate. Yeah. But the idea that we could follow up and he would just be you could watch him as a new viewer in a new Stargate series and go, that's the guy from The Nanny. But if you're a long-term fan and watcher, you go, that's Alec Coulson from that. Yeah, okay, cool. They're following up on that. It's not just another one of those, as you guys say, we never see it again type situation that we would like to maybe see. It's there to be seen again. It's a big thread there.
And I feel like, Carter says, like, when she offers him that they're going to send him off-world, she says, she's already got authorization. I feel like that's not even a call like Jack could make. I feel like that's like a presidential thing. Like the president's got to sign off on that if Coulson's about to go to prison.
Yeah.
So I feel like wouldn't it be easier just for Coulson? Yeah, just for the president to give him a pardon, like give him a presidential pardon, and say he was the guy that hung himself that was responsible for everything, and give him a pass. And then he's not going to give away the information. It feels like by the end, now that his business partner's dead and he's lost his business. So, like, the Trust have no reason to kill him.
Do we know where they sent him? I missed that bit.
No, she just gives him because he very conveniently, and in some really clever Cooper writing, he says, with a public profile like mine, there's nowhere on this world I can hide. Which gives Carter the perfect opening to be like, well, what about another world, mate? It's like, thanks, Karen.
I couldn't imagine being a billionaire. I assume he was a billionaire, to going and living in that kind of chamber where all the bull statues are and the light.
Darkness and light people.
I just can't imagine that.
Yeah. Well, send him to Kelowna to live with Jonas and all those squabbling politicians.
Man.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Maybe it's just because we saw him at the Alpha site. Then again, maybe it was my head running forward about, what if we saw him again? I just naturally went to the idea that he would still continue to do what he does. And not that he was out there inventing stuff, but he was boss of a company and obviously had ideas back in the day and wanting to make things better, that he would go to somewhere like an Alpha site or something like that. But now that I'm thinking about it, it would be fun to imagine what planet they would just go and pop him on, because that would be so much harder. At least he'd have that connection to Earth. If he was part of the Alpha side, like, why not stick him, next time they, hook up to go to Atlantis? Again, I'm watching Atlantis for the first time, but I do imagine that at some point they're going to make direct contact with Earth. Like, why not send him to Atlantis? Then he's still part of the fight, the secret that he's now helping to keep, and he's part of the battle, but he still gets to continue his good work and not go to jail.
I feel like if he was friends with Jack would be like, have I got the planet for you, mate?
Yeah.
Sends him to the Brief Candle planet, where it's all just like belly dancers and psychedelic
Get
cakes.
100 days left. Good luck.
Take pizza cakes.
Tell the redhead I said hi.
Yeah, or he sends him to the planet he was trying to get away from, the 100 Days planet, where he
The Stage 5 clinger girl.
Yeah. Like,
if you meet a woman who has a dead husband, steer clear of her.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
Do not go anywhere near the laundry.
Maybe Carter was just pissed off that he did that nosedive, so she sent him to the same planet they sent Anubis.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which, that was ridiculous, that nosedive, because it took ages for her to regain control.
And she skimmed the canopy of the forest. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like he was just expecting her to do that, but it's like, if she'd reacted a second later, they'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like, how can he give away our secret if he's dead?
That was great. That was just insane. What was his plan? I think that was just the CGI doing it a disservice.
Yeah. Well, he sort of has that line a little bit later on where he's like, "Oh, how did it feel being out of control?" Like it was his plan all along. But it's like, mate, you weren't at any point looking like you were going to react. So it's like, even if Carter hadn't taken control and you'd pulled up like a second later, Carter's a better pilot than you are, mate. That's what I'm factoring in. Like, sure, he's got pilot experience, but he's been a businessman for the last 20
when
years.
she had her reproductive organs on the inside, she did a lot of flight hours.
Well, and she knows the 302 better than almost anyone. Like, she knows how to handle it and what it can do and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, yeah, I think you're right. It might be that sort of the CGI doing the disservice to the story again. Well, what little story there is, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. That's what I always think. Season 8, I love it, but then on a rewatch, I'm like, skip. I feel like there's a lot of there's like more horse shit, and then like there's so many in the top 7, which you're not going to be able to cram in. I just feel like there's not many middle ranges to either hit or miss.
Well, and it's going to be even tighter this season because we won't even have like 21. We'll have like 18, so it'll be like a top, medium, and bottom 6. Like if we split them up. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But a little bit of interesting trivia that I liked with this is, Brendan, you'll probably recognise the Coulson like office space as they reused that set on Atlantis, like all the guardrails and the metal railings behind him and stuff like that. It's actually the Blade Trinity set as well. Like that was where the evil guy from Blade Trinity was living. That's the set. And the Stargate production bought it for $1 from Blade, because the Blade Trinity people, was going to cost them hundreds of $1,000s to break it down and dispose of it. They didn't want anything to do with it. They're like, well, someone can have it. They're just going to be responsible for it. And they sold it to the Stargate production for $1.
Wow. I thought it was a bit narrow. Like his office. A lot of plants around.
I think that becomes like Heitmeyer's office in
the
Atlantis. No, Heitmeyer, the psychiatrist. You know.
Oh right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they open up all those louvers, and that's basically the same backdrop. And you see like Weir and Shepard walking down that stairwell like 400,000 times before the series is over.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
I was just thinking once he said, "You don't expect this to make me not want to share the secret out, do you, Sam?" I was just like, "Oh, dude, you should just push him in the vortex on the way in." Like, stand here and we'll dial the gate. What's going to happen? Nothing. You'll be fine. And then just leave some embering shoes around.
I was genuinely
really expensive
caught,
ones.
though. I was like, if I was in his position, and like, I don't know if I would keep the secret or not. Like, if I found out the way he did, and then the US military, who I haven't really had dealings with, and don't like, he knew Sam, but he didn't really know anything else. And they showed me the Stargate program. I don't know if I'd be able to keep the secret or not.
Well, that's what I liked. That was about the only thing I liked about this episode was that dialogue in the plane. He's like, "Oh, the old cancer trick."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Would you want to know?" And he's like, "Of course I want to know, because then I can try and cure it." And I kind of agree with that, because sure, there'd probably be mass hysteria in the populace for a short period, but I think everyone would come together in solidarity and just be like, we have to fight this common enemy, like warriors of the world type shit.
Yeah, well, that's what so many sci-fi shows do. It's like when they realize that they're not the only people in the universe, it bonds them together. And I mean, that's what sci-fi does in a meta sense, is it on a macro level is like, okay, well, if we're going to make this planet and this planet fight over something really, really petty, it's meant to look like, it's mirroring petty arguments we have here on Earth. So the idea being that, like, if we knew that we would just this one little insignificant thing, and there was proof that there was other life out there, you think so many of our petty differences would fall by the wayside. But it's like the SGC kind of has that opposite effect,
especially intelligent life. Because I have absolutely no doubt that there is life on other planets. Just whether or not we've managed to come across a civilization that's lives in the same time space as us, relatively.
Well, their level of sentience, is equivalent to ours.
Because you imagine if that meteorite didn't hit and kill the dinosaurs, then we wouldn't be here. It'd still be dinosaurs, mucking about.
Dinosaurs in Spaceships, Star Trek Voyager Season 3. But yeah, it's like us being the fifth member of SG-1 and having been watching the show for 8 years, we know and trust the SGC, and we're like, okay, well, if they say it needs to stay secret for now, we trust them.
Yeah.
But if I was in universe and I was Alec Coulson, I don't know that I would, because I wouldn't know like the SGC enough to trust them. It'd just be like, I feel like
Daniel's
right to know.
When they were watching the TV and when Coulson was like, I gave you 24 hours, and Daniel was like really angry. I'm like, F you, Daniel. Like, what do you care if it's secret or not? You still have your job. They're not going to change what you do.
Yeah.
You'll be able to talk about it. Not that he has friends to talk to about it.
But yeah, you're right. It's a wonder that he didn't try and use it as a means of, like, well, I won't, but if you have to let me be the aviation thing behind all of your ships, and you have to allow me access to this, and I've got to be, like, he could have made himself, like a trillionaire through, using the secrets that he had that he was going to keep. Because like I said, you get to the end of the episode, he wasn't out because he was evil. As far as we're to believe, which almost seems too good to be true, he was doing it because it was a secret, and it's like, this is too big and people should know. And then once he found out more about it, he's like, well, yeah, like the cancer thing, people would rather know the full truth than nothing, or even half the truth. So the idea that I don't know, is there a middle ground there where he could have been the good guy, but then go, well, okay, I'll allow it if you allow me to do more work on these 302s and whatever else. That big thing that I got a picture of over Antarctica. Let me have a look at those engines, So,
but would that make him like a bad guy in the sense is that technically blackmail? Is it like, you give me this and I'll keep your secret? Is he like extortion, blackmailing them at that point?
Yeah, I feel like they could have had there is a way there where almost he agrees to it, but then's like, well, you've got to do this thing for me, though. As like as a little bit of fun. Like it doesn't change his world. Ultimately, he gets some extra work there, and then maybe you do find out about the bloody financial bullshit that sort of comes and goes and means next to nothing as except for just killing off his mate. But I don't know. Then it just expands the world a little bit. Like for me, the whole exposition news story at the start, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if one of the writers, like best mates, last name was Coulson. So in one episode, in some CGI plane that was going to fly by that was carrying one of our people, he'd written in it was Coulson Air or something as a tribute to his friend. And then you get to here and they go, oh, we're going to have this aviation guy. We're going to have this billionaire. It's like, well, why don't we make it the Coulson guy? And then it's like the little threads were there along the way. And they were just nothing little side notifications there, but we've used that, and then now we might not ever see Charles Shaughnessy play another role, but the name Coulson is out there, and we spoke to the engineers at Coulson, and they reckon this engine, blah blah blah. Like,
they do talk about how they've had to split up construction, like of the 302s and 303s and stuff like that. They obviously had to like compartmentalize, and people built little bits and pieces. So yeah, it's almost like if Coulson went, okay, well, tell me everything. Let me know everything that's going on. Tell me about 302, 303, all that kind of stuff. And then they can give more work to him. And even if he doesn't profit from it, even if he like does it for him for costs so that he's involved, he can help. He's a smart man. He can help him out with new technology and engines and reverse engineering tech and all that kind of stuff.
Mate, have him compete for Carter's heart against Pete. Oh my God. She's got this low-level cop that can't afford to take her out to a real dinner, and instead he has to go to an old people's home. And then you got the guy that can fly to the other side of the planet to have real food in Paris.
Real food. I have to do this myself.
And then Carter can take, as reciprocation, Carter can take him to the other side of the galaxy for alien food.
Hey, see, it's all there.
She can take him to P3X254 for some yellow ones.
Pete's jealousy, and it gets him kicked off the show because he just can't handle it, but then she doesn't end up with Alec anyway because of his troubles. He has to go live elsewhere, and she's like, I'm not having a long-distance relationship. And O'Neill comes in and pats her on the back and goes, don't worry, it's all going to be okay. And see, there it is. Oh, God, here we are, fixing 11. Cooper's mistakes
That's what season 11 could have been. That's what season 11 could have been, guys.
Speaking about the horse shit pile that we were talking about before, I just... On my previous watches of season 8, I never realized how much they cut out O'Neill. Like, and it was to the point where even Thor had to cover for him. O'Neill said he'll see you tomorrow. I reckon if you didn't even mention it, we wouldn't notice. Like, we knew he was in Washington. Like he didn't even need
Yeah.
to say that. But it was just
That's it. There was
the
enough
little
fun
little
with,
times that he's in
him
there.
waiting for the
Fun.
Yeah, well, there was enough time. Like, there was enough fun stuff with him, like waiting for the beam out and the beam in. He's like, any minute now, any minute. That was fine. And that cool scene where, like, he's in all his formal gear and they beam off to Washington and stuff like that. It's like, that's cool stuff. You didn't need Thor, like, running errands and, giving messages back and forward.
This is one of my favorite ones where O'Neill, like, has the answer for the SG-1 to fulfill their mission.
The Pentagon has lost all patience.
What are they going to do?
They want us to put a stop to it.
How?
We're calling in a marker. Yep. Calling in a marker.
Greetings.
I am Thor, the mighty the Lord of rain and storm. Now build a fire, for feast it shall be warm.
That's how he rolls it.
See, that couldn't have happened because he beamed in on his own. If he beamed in his chair with the stereo speakers on it, he could have been jamming that.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, man, you don't think they can beam in sound? Jesus.
And he now has like wind machines, so when he busts in, like it just blasts people, and they're just like, it's I am Thor. It's like, is that the wind thing or is that the speakers? I don't know, but it's like it's all theft. It's all working.
Thor putting on like a big long blonde Thor wig so that his hair can just like whip majestically in the.
But it's always in slow motion. Like everyone else is normal, but his hair just tech. They would.
Just an isolated time dilation device just around him, so that he's in slow motion compared to us. Yeah,
you're right though with O'Neill. Like it's those scenes where I think I forget was maybe in the middle of the episode, and O'Neill's just sitting at his desk, and it might have even been that moment where he was like, the Pentagon are over it. And just the way that Richard Dean Anderson was carrying himself, and I'm like, it's almost like he's so rarely on set. It's almost just expected, we need you to be the one that injects comedy. You always used to, but you were here for the entire 40 minutes of the episode where we could actually explore your character a little bit and how you would react to certain situations. Well, you're only here for 5 minutes every time or 2 minutes every time. We just need you to be the funny guy who doesn't take anything seriously, and you got to have a quip, and then bang, you're out and you can go back to see your family. So I feel sorry for him in that sense as an actor, but also as a character now, where we had him for 7 seasons, and then now it's like, he's just the comedic relief guy.
Yeah,
I think he probably prefers it like that. Well, that was his wish anyway, to have a reduced role. But I think in the best episodes of this season, he actually does get out of that general's chair and get out and about. Which is,
like they save up
fun.
their Rick days so that O'Neill can get out there and do what O'Neill needs to do. And they're the best episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
Season.
I just wanted to share this one too. This is my other favorite one of his.
How about a hyperdrive for the Prometheus?
That is something I must discuss with the High Council.
Thor, come on. You said you wanted to get something nice for the president. Carter?
Sir, anything on who might have tried to kill Coulson?
I don't know why, but I laughed so hard when he's like, "Come on, Thor. Hyperdrive. You want to get something nice for the president?"
Is it just me, or is Thor's voice really weird in this episode?
Yeah, it sounded different.
A filter on it or something.
Yeah, I felt like that too.
Yeah,
especially at the start. Greetings, and then when he's talking to Coulson, he's like, "You're the real one. Hello." And Daniel,
I'm the yellow one.
I was gonna start off, but I can probably jump to the end there where he does say, "You're the real one," and what's going to happen to the fake one? He's like, "Well, we're going to transfer a consciousness from an Asgard whose body's failing him," and I'm like, "Me, so hang on, his cloning technologies are up to the standard of the Asgard that he's like, oh, sick, we got an empty vessel here. Just stick the brain right into it and we are sweet. Because I'm like, they gave them the DNA. Hey, look, here's just like a hypothetical DNA sequence. Can you guys just run some tests about what this would possibly... Just check it out. And they went, oh, they obviously did more work than they were supposed to. I'm like, yeah, they took DNA sequencing and cloned a alien. Like, cool. Like, glad that they did that, but that could have, like they said, it was a mute thing because it's got all the capabilities to talk, but it doesn't know properly how to function because they can't teach it things because its physiology is so different, and they've been spending months or longer just teaching it how to walk. And yet then Thor rocks up and goes, oh, that, you wouldn't believe it, spot on. So we're just going to drop his old mate's brain into it, and you are good to go.
Yeah, we're going to whip out your Datsun engine you put in it. We'll put a Ferrari engine in it, and it's good to go.
Yeah, like how whatever, like it's fine, but it's like he was an aviation guy, like it's Coulson Air or Coulson whatever Industries, and yet like how many pies has he got his fingers in when
it's like
that's the main company, and yet they're like, oh, we gave him some DNA sequencing to work on. Like, why? Yeah. You gave him engines to fix up for the 302, but also gave him Asgard blood? Like, what the f***?
Booba! All right, so I got an email here from Eric Fusco, your great buddy.
Oh, Eddie Fusco, he f***ed your mother.
that sent him a lot more... there's a lot more in that than usual.
Hey, boppity boopity.
Eric writes, what up, my gators? Since I'm extremely bored during lockdown here in the dystopian states of America, I thought I'd take a crack at writing trivia questions for your upcoming episodes. I took the liberty of adding a bonus question to the list. Hope you like them. And rest in peace, Rhys.
Jesus.
You know?
I mean, he's in the next room, guys.
Eric's written some questions for you, Maddie.
Oh, that's right. It's me on SG-1, isn't it? That's right.
So we don't have a clock, so I'm thinking we'll just do one and then you answer it and then we talk about it or say yes or no. That's what I'm thinking.
My body is ready.
All right. What was the cover story about the Goa'uld attack?
It was a meteor shower.
Correct. What inspired Coulson to found his company?
Death of his wife and daughter.
In
a plane crash.
Correct.
Yeah.
Who was the officer at the Alpha site?
Captain Sheffield.
Correcto. What's the name of the news program Sam goes on?
Oh, who cares with who cares?
I mean, I'd like this for myself with Sam Carter. It's actually Inside
Me with... Oh, okay. I was making a joke about Inside Me.
How did Brian Volga die?
He hung himself like a pathetic little wimp.
Yeah, well, wouldn't have said that.
I mean, if you're going through stuff, we're here to talk.
He had to pay bills, mate.
Bonus question, Matty. With the inside access, how did they spell inside?
Oh, yeah. Good call.
There's only one way to spell.
No, it's like a Kesha style or pink.
Oh.
You ruined it now.
I don't think he's going to get there still.
Was the D like a TV or something?
That would be fun to see. No, they spelt it. There was an exclamation mark instead of the I at the top of inside.
Oh, gag.
Yeah, and I noticed it because the font is so awful for like an investigative news show with like obviously one host who's just there sprouting her opinion and running interviews. It was like clearly early 2000s. They've just got a work experience guy go, oi, jump onto Microsoft Paint, just do us up inside access. It's going to be sick. And that's what he produced. Like, it didn't even look like it was in high quality. And that's what drew me to... I'm like, is that a fucking exclamation mark? Like, that makes it worse than some kind of current affairs show. But anyway, whatever.
And the irony is that the porn parody will also just be called Inside Access.
Yeah, you got to give him a little bit of work to do.
And Eric's bonus question: who keeps giving out Sam's phone number?
Oh, well, it's got to be Pete, doesn't it?
No, it's Walter. Come on.
Oh.
hell. I was just
I suppose
thinking,
Pete wouldn't give it out. Pete would be stealing it. He'd be making sure other people
Yeah.
don't have her number, so they can't contact her.
thanks for that, Eric. You can catch Eric on his new TV show with Neil Patrick Harris, Go F Your Mother, coming out on all great channels soon.
All right, that's episode 166 of Get Into Geek. Before we switch off, though, something quite fun and interesting coming up in just a minute. But before then, if you are new to the show, if you're new, I just say new to the show, you can check out all of our old podcasts on your favourite podcasting outlet. Just search Get Into Geek, a Stargate podcast. There's something I really want to mention here, but I might save it for later or another time. Hit us up on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or drop us a long-form email, some questions, suggestions, like Eddie Fusco just did, getintogate@gmail.com.
We've also got a Discord page and a YouTube page, so jump on, subscribe, do whatever you want.
And if you'd like to join our covenant, check out our Patreon, guys.
Are we there yet? Like, have we reached the promised land? That
Guys, we've done it.
Reached 100.
Get the f- out!
We've done it.
100 patrons.
Oh, like
Unbelievable.
over. Like 105, 107 or something like that now. So two things. I've got some shout outs to give. And also we get to draw the winner of our staff weapon giveaway that Silas and Ash donated to us. So I wanted to give a shout out to our newest patrons, Kian Carney, Tim Kaiser.
Hang on, what did she do? She keyed your car.
Kian Carney.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Kian Carney.
great people.
I think it's Kian. It could be Kian or Keen, but I'm assuming it's Kian. Tim Kaiser, who I'm worried is related to that Kaiser Soso lady I made fun of a few weeks ago.
And
Right,
sorry, I
Check up on
apologise.
us.
I apologise, Key the car, if I've assumed gender there. That's my bad.
I mean, that they might not have a gender to assume.
That's true.
So,
Also, welcome to Tara Hunter, the Hunt, as I like to call her.
Oh, the big hunt.
The big Hunt, the big T Hunt. The big, and if you try, that's the big Thunt. Then, if you put
Is that
T in
Mike's
front of it.
sister?
Hunter,
Oh, right.
it's Hunter. It's
Oh.
it's Hunter. Not
no,
just
it's
Hunt.
not.
Yeah.
It isn't.
She's got a
Also
few
welcome
relatives
to,
in Russia as well, Yurik.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to get through here, guys. We could be here for an hour if we do this for all of them. Because you guys went nuts on Patreon. Like, I'm amazed. Thank you so much to everyone who jumped on Patreon. You guys went nuts this month. Justin Webb, Spider. I'm going to call
the
him
Webb
Spider.
stuff.
Nah, Spider.
Just in
Webb,
time.
Spider. Someone I can't trust because he's got two first names. George Bradley. Welcome,
Right.
but I'm never going to trust you because, two first names. Rachel Reyes. Welcome. And a
Rays
fun one
of
we've got here.
sunshine. Keep going.
I don't know if they're related to old Tim Kaiser, but Operative Bread, welcome to our Patreon.
The bread
Because
master.
Kaiser roll, you know how you can get Kaiser rolls, and then operative bread.
I mean, I've just learnt that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, welcome to
You really sussed out the room there for that joke. Done well.
Any bakers in the audience? Any bakers?
my brother-in-law's a baker. He'll enjoy that joke. Also, welcome to Bob
I don't think
Roberts.
it was sit
Bob
through
Roberts?
50 minutes of this nonsense, so
No,
get to the
definitely
good bread gear.
Oi, get to the end. There's some bread gear.
not.
I got some sesame seed bits that'll kill.
I'm trying to figure out a yeast joke, but I just can't get there.
Oh,
Anyway,
nice.
two more. Welcome to Bob Roberts. So Bob Rob.
Baby.
And I'm just going to say it as it was written here. Santos Gonzalez, a.k.a. your mama's butthole. That's his whole name.
Well, I dare say we're not going to confuse him with anyone else.
Mm.
So it's probably a smart move to make.
Yeah. And also welcome back to a lot of our old patrons as well, like previous patrons who have come back because, they had to stop because of everything that's going on and all things like that. We've had so many patrons actually come back on as well. So welcome back to everybody.
Yeah,
Great
and thank you very much. Yes.
We appreciate
Speaking
it.
of that,
So,
we did promise something when we got to 100 patrons that we would upload the video to Patreon, the video of the podcast. So it's something we'll be doing this month.
And almost done for us, basically, now that we're doing stuff through Zoom in isolation.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder once we get back into the studio, I think, but
Have to do Zoom in the studio too.
We'll all just sit in different corners in front of our laptops.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. We'll be doing that. But as a thank you to everybody,
I
I've
thought
bought it
you
out
were
of...
whacking off there.
This is going on Patreon. This is going on Patreon. Oh, wait, wrong hand. Sorry.
Either way.
I've bought it out of retirement.
Yeah.
Box of shame, guys.
Okay.
So I've got everyone's name inside the box of shame.
Oh, you're announcing it now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
What else are we going to do?
Jesus. Okay, let's do it.
So, Mitch, can you put in that really over dramatic drum roll, like the timpani one they play at the Oscars?
Well, if you could just send a link to that, I'm sure Mitch will do it for you.
Oh, are you telling me Mitch doesn't already have that like on his phone, like the Oscars nerd that he is?
I clearly don't put in stuff that I already do have on my phone. There really goes, so that's how I roll.
All right, we ready?
All right, let's do it.
Insert.
This is for
the drum roll.
The epic staff weapon.
This is the staff weapon that Silas and Ash donated to us. Check out silasquinlivan.com for all his gear that he's been doing.
I have.
All right.
It looks hot.
All right, you ready? Is everyone nervous? I'm shaking.
I'm nervous. I've had this... He come to visit us in my place of work where I currently am recording. Before I recorded this podcast, I was sitting at my desk. Underneath my desk, in safekeeping, in several boxes and wrapping and styrofoam, is this staff weapon. I love that it's there, but it's also taking up a shite load of room because it's so big.
It's a monster.
It is.
The Wookiee needs some leg room.
That's it.
I have the winner. I hope
shit.
it's the right name. I don't want to read the wrong name like the Oscars. Was the Oscars or they read the wrong name?
Yeah. It's Silas Quinlivan. Congratulations.
Ashley Knights. No.
Congratulations to, I want to put my hand on his cock, David Hancock.
Oh,
there we
David,
go.
you big, you massive. You've won it, you're champion.
Look, it's been a while, but I thought now's the time to bring it back.
Oh yeah, the iPhone.
Boom.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. Good work, handlers.
There'll be plenty of people wanting to put their hands on your cock once you've got that monster.
That's right. And you know what that means too? Silas, we need something else cool to give away at 150. So get to making, boy.
Well, we do have to figure that out too, because Patreon is really cracking down on stuff now. They're adding in taxes, and they're also cracking down on quote-unquote giveaways. So we've got to try and figure out a way where we can still give you guys some cool stuff.
Yeah, we're thinking eggplant.
To give it away.
This month's eggplant.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that.
Code words.
If you can trust us to do one thing, it's find a way to cheat the system. Yeah. We will do that.
Yeah. I tried to Google there because, like you said, they're planning to use keyword searches on the tiers. So if you have giveaways or anything like, which is it's a sales tax from the US basically.
Yeah, well,
so
when I did a post, when I did a post announcing the winner of the big poster, and I put that on Patreon, it flagged it because I wrote the word giveaway. Right. So but then so we're going to figure out ways around it so we can still give you guys some cool stuff.
And if anyone knows the word giveaway in gold dialect, please forward that on, and we'll start using that. Yeah.
Ooh.
Did you know me? I love to give it away, right, guys?
Oh, yes.
I'm sure. I think there is like a link to the Goa'uld language where it's got the words equals. So I'm sure we can come up with something.
I've got that book from Craig as well. It's got the Goa'uld dictionary in the back of it.
Yeah, nice.
Sweet.
We can bring it out now because it's. I've been hiding it for like the last 5 seasons because it had a picture on the front with Teal'c with hair. But now I can.
We're good to go.
I can bring that out now. We're safe.
Rhys isn't even here. Speaking of, Rhys has got a written statement here that he wanted me to read out.
Oh, did he write it though, or did you?
Actually, I'm just getting a phone call, so I might have to go, guys.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, okay.
All right. Ciao.
All right, other than all that, if somehow you want to talk to us individually, I don't know why you would want to, but people are starting to do that, and it's kind of fun and cool. So please come and do that more to us. I am Mitch_Lewis on Twitter and Instagram. Maddie, where you at?
At High Pitch Maddie on all the stuff and things.
And if Brendan was still here, he would say this to that very same question.
I'm at the Bren Gibson.
All right, that is episode 166 of Get Into Geek. We will be back next week to talk Stargate Atlantis. We are back in the Pegasus Galaxy. Maddie, I don't have it in front of me. What's the next episode of Atlantis?
I believe it's Underground.
Sick. I don't even know if you're wrong, and I don't care. We'll be talking Stargate Atlantis next week, whatever the right episode will be. Until then, check out all the old podcasts and go and watch some Stargate, and we'll talk to you next week right here on Get Into Geek.
I'm back.
Get Into Geek.